Hi, I'm Gwen Raimundi. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist associate in the state of Washington. I have a master's degree in clinical psychology, and more important than that, I feel I'm a mom, a wife, a woman who lives in this world. I wanted to share a little bit about myself and about how I came to this work today. As I said, I'm a mom. I have two amazing kids. My daughter is almost 9, and when she was born, it was it was it was tough. It was a big shift and change for me, and I found myself being really wrapped up in the ideas of being a perfect parent. I read all the books, right? I scoured all the websites. I sought out mothers of older children and their advice on how to deal with whatever thing was going on. And most of all, I didn't trust myself. I didn't trust my gut. I was really seeking out for other people to tell me what to do and how to be. There was a lot of other stuff that was going on in my life at the same time. I was working as an electrical engineer. I had a very high pressure job. My stress levels were through the roof with work and trying to be fully present there while also wanting to be a fully present parent. And these two ideas, I couldn't find a way for them to meld and match. And this deeply affected my health, my physical health, my mental health, my spiritual health, all of it. I was very much failing in many, many ways. Failing physically, failing emotionally. I was very irritable. I wasn't sleeping well. Like I said, I was very anxious and I worried about everything. It was not a happy time in my life when my daughter was little. I eventually quit engineering and went on to graduate school to study marriage and family therapy. In between those two things happening, I finally sought out help. I let go of the idea that I could do everything all on my own, that I had to do everything all on my own. I went to my doctor. I told her about the physical symptoms I was having. I went to my husband and I told him about the emotional issues that were going on. We sought couples counseling and I went to my own therapist for a while. And through this, my system started to calm down and I started to calm down. Eventually, I left engineering and I went to graduate school. And in this in-between time, between graduate school and leaving my career, I was a stay-at-home mom. And I loved it. It was amazing, amazing, amazing for me to be able to spend so much time with my daughter, to reconnect with her, to actually, in many ways, to connect with her for the first time, to connect to motherhood, to really be present in her life. It was also very challenging because although I so desperately wanted to be there with her, I was also, I was still incredibly quick to respond to things. And what I mean by that is I was yelling a lot. I would get frustrated incredibly easily. I didn't understand the mind of a preschooler. I found myself saying things that my mother had said to me when I was a child, right? That I know just hurt. I found myself apologizing over and over and over and over 1,000 times a day to my daughter for yelling at her, for being short, for being snappy, for not being the woman I wanted to be, for not being the mother I wanted to be to her. And then I started graduate school. And in grad school, I took a class in crisis and trauma. And in that class, I learned about what are called the somatic therapies. So they're the connecting to your body. connecting to your own wisdom, connecting to the stories that are literally held within your muscles and learning how to release them, learning how to process them. Part of this was a mindfulness practice that I adopted for myself immediately as soon as I read about it. It was amazing. And it was simple things like learning to focus on my breath when I felt myself just ready to explode. Counting my breath, counting my exhales, taking in deep breaths, letting out full exhales, doing these things that were connecting me to the right now, helping me calm my system, helping me be present, and to keep me forward into my frontal lobe instead of creeping back into that reptile, emotional, reactionary, fight or flight brain. Through time, I expanded this practice. It's become a very integral part of my own daily life, as well as my work guiding other women. It's helped me hear the stories that live within. It's helped me and my own life stories, like reconnecting to memories, reconnecting to my past. It's helped me connect to the women who lived before me, my mother, my grandmother. It's helped me think about what their lives were like and given me new perspective, and think about how they treated me, how that impacted me, how that lives in my body, and then processing through that. I yell less. I'm still a yeller. I'm Italian. It comes out. It's natural. I think that yelling it's not necessarily a bad thing. But I don't go into emotional overwhelm and freak out anymore. I certainly yell about when I step on a Lego, for example, those are the things that I do yell about. And it's even that is more relaxed and more calm. I've also, through this process, been, as I said earlier, been able to connect to my stories, connect to the stuff that lives within me, and be those the stories, the actual stories of events that happened in my life, or the stories that live in our heads, right? About what we should do, how we should be, what we should say, how we should act. All of those intense expectations that we have for ourselves to be perfect, to be a certain way, to not be too much, to not be too small, to not be too loud, to make sure, all of those things that get fed to us throughout our lives about how we need to be and act in the world. Connecting to these stories has been a huge, huge piece of letting go and releasing my own anxiety and depression, understanding where these stories come from, again, looking at the lives of the women who came before me and understanding how their own anxiety, their own experience of being told how they should be in the world impacted them, and then how that then was passed down. Looking at all of the things that were passed down through the generations, looking at the relationship between my own mother and grandmother, looking at the relationships between my paternal grandmother and her children, looking at and trying to vision the relationships of all those other women and their daughters and what that looked like, and how that influences how I am with my daughter today. Because in the end, at the beginning of the day and the end of the day, I started this practice to be a better mom. That was what I wanted. That was my goal. I wanted to yell less. I wanted to connect to my daughter. That was what I wanted. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about too. And what I'm learning, what I've learned and continue to learn over and over again, is that in order to connect deeply with her, I need to have a deeper sense of my own self. I need to know who I am. I need to know where I've come from. I need to know what I want. I need to understand why things frustrate me so much. You know, why, what's the bigger picture behind the socks on the floor pissing me off, right? What's the bigger story? And as I've been digging into these stories, as I've been able to really do a lot of self-reflection, the relationships that I have with others have naturally become more connected and closer and deeper, because I don't have as many walls up, because I've been able to look through my stuff. So that's a lot about me and my process and my journey. And I share this with other women. This is my work in this world. This is what I believe my work in this world is to help and guide other women to connecting more deeply to their own self, to their own wisdom, to their own voice, to their own knowing, so that they can be in the world the way they want to be, instead of, so that we can all be in the world the way we want to be, instead of being told how we should be and what we should do. So a lot of those stories about what we should be and how we should do and how we should look and how we should act and la 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 la, right? A lot of that comes from our culture. It comes from living in a patriarchal society. It comes from being fully disconnected from ourselves, literally like disconnected from our gut intuition. Being disconnected from our bodies causes disease, truly causes not only dis-ease, right, discomfort, it also causes disease, I firmly believe. There is a lot of research happening on the mind-body-spirit connection, and what does that look like, and does mental health affect physical health? Does physical health affect mental health? How does spirituality play into this? How are they all connected? How do we find our wholeness when we completely disconnect from our bodies, our spirit, our own inner knowing, our own subconscious, right? That's what my work is about. My work, sorry, there's some weird pop-up came up. I needed to get rid of it. That's what my work is about. It's about digging into all those things, those shadow pieces of ourselves, and looking at them, exposing them, dancing with them, loving them up, right? Not a one of us is perfect. Not a one of us. Some people understand themselves better. Other people don't. Some people live in a very unconscious sort of state. Some people are very mindful. It doesn't matter, right? Not a one of us is perfect. Not a one of us knows everything. Every single one of us has shadow aspects. Every single one of us has pieces of ourselves that we may not like very much, that we may try to disown, that we may actually disown, right? And that's what my work is about. It's about owning it. It's about not only owning it, but embracing it and saying, you know what? It's okay that I'm not perfect. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't continue the practices, we don't do the work so that we don't yell as much, right? Whatever that means. Or we aren't shaming our children as much, right? Or we aren't shaming ourselves as much, right? I say as much because it's never not at all, right? I mean, that may be the goal, but that is a lifelong striving thing, which is okay too, right? And to accept that we're never going to be perfect at anything. We're going to have good days, we're going to have bad days, we're going to have good moments, we're going to have bad moments, and it's all okay. It's all okay. We are all okay. You're okay just as you are right now. And it's okay that you want to be different. Right? We can hold both. We are complex, intelligent beings. We can hold both. And that's what my work is about. It's about holding both. It's about looking at that shadow. It's about looking at that darkness. It's about looking at those things that really that keep us up at night, that stress us out, that worry us, that make us hate ourselves, that make us anxious, that make us depressed. It's looking at all of those things. It's bringing them out of the shadow and giving them some light. And it's learning to love ourselves. Not in spite of these things, not because of these things, just loving them and loving ourselves and knowing it all changes. It's the one constant in life, right? It's change. And when we get to a place, as I've gotten to a place, to be able to truly embrace that, to embrace that, you know what? I'm having a shitty day, and it's okay. I swear a lot, by the way. I'm actually pretty proud of myself that that's, I think, the first time I've sworn in this 16 minutes. So, we have bad days. We all do. We have bad moments. We all say things we regret. We all do things we regret. And it's okay. Now, we need to do the repair we need to do, right? We need to make the apologies we need to make. We need to own that, yes, I'm human, I screwed up, and I'm sorry. That's part of this. That's part of this work, right? It's not just going, oh, well, I was an asshole. Okay, that's all right. I can be an asshole. Absolutely, we can all be assholes some days, but we still say we're sorry. We still say we're sorry for being an asshole, right? So, and that's the other piece of being able to own this stuff and being okay with it, is that you can apologize for hurting another person and it doesn't feel like it's going to eat you alive by doing that. That the admitting that you did something wrong or mean or, whatever the thing was, doesn't then eat away at you forever. You can apologize and be okay. You can admit that you're imperfect and it's okay. So I wanted to spend this first video really talking about this work. Really talking about what I do, where I came from, how I got to doing this, what this work means to me, how I can benefit you, how this work can benefit you. There'll be 3 more videos. And in the next one, we're going to talk about those ideas of, I'm going to talk about, and hopefully you'll start thinking more about those ideas of not being enough, of being too much, the shame that we all hold within us, and how those things really, really feed our anxiety, how they feed depression, how they feed our ways of being disconnected in the world. So, thank you for spending 20 minutes with me, almost 20 minutes with me today, and you'll get the next video in a couple days. Until then, namaste. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful few days. Sending you lots of love.